And at that point, the debt will actually be greater than the goods we produce in America. So what does all that mean? Illinois Congressman Peter Roskam is the House Deputy Minority Whip. He also serves in the House Ways and Means Committee. Morning to you from the Hill. It doesn't sound good. What does it mean for us?
No, it's not good. I mean, this is perilous news, actually, and it's an incredible wake-up call for the United States and the leadership and the administration in Capitol Hill to figure this out. You know, essentially what they're saying is that this debt is going to mean a negative job creation. There was testimony before the President's Debt Commission that said if you, you know, to the extent that you put debt and GDP out of proportion, it has a real negative impact on job creation. The time is now for us to act. You know, the Brookings Institution did a study where they looked at 35 sovereign debt events, in other words, where sovereign nations weren't able to pay their bills. 25 of those took place with countries that had a better debt to GDP ratio than we do. This is a season that needs to be dealt with, or an issue that needs to be dealt with now.
You guys are much smarter than us. I mean, you look at these figures, you can figure it out, look back in history. We had a money manager on our show last week. He said this debt figure is no big deal. He actually said, Bill, you didn't freak out when it's $6 trillion. Why are you going to freak out when it's $13 trillion? Now, is he right? Can we manage this?
No, I mean, that argument becomes an absurdity. If there's no limit to debt, then why not just spend anything now? The American public knows intuitively that you cannot borrow and spend your way into prosperity. Republicans have been saying this for quite some time, looking at, you know, how this administration has now tripled and now knocking on the door of almost 4 times the national debt that was created, that took place under 43 American presidents, from George Washington to George W. Bush. This thing has shot up now to the point now where if we don't deal with this in a thoughtful way and in an urgent way, we're going to be looking at the types of austerity measures that Greece is looking at.
Well, let's hope we don't go the way of Europe, and we know the amount of anxiety on that continent. One more point here. It's my impression, and I don't know if the House Minority Leader is right or wrong on this, but it's my impression that politicians in Washington, both Democrat and Republican, are getting the message. It seems like deficit talk is all the rage on the Hill. Is that a fair point?
That is a fair point. I did a town meeting in suburban Chicago last week and had a theme called America Speaking Out, a website that House Republicans have created. And the #1 point of conversation from citizens that stepped up to the microphone was on debt and spending. It's a real priority and a real focal point.
We're going to try and look for solutions on this. We've laid out the foundation for this argument. We know what we're faced against, and the reality and the facts are not good. So as we work in the coming days and weeks ahead, we'll look for solutions. By the way, Ben Bernanke says, don't reduce spending and don't raise taxes. We'll talk about that next time. Thank you, sir. Peter Roskam, Republican out of Illinois.
Thank you.
All right.